What does it mean to truly arrive? Not just as a name on a roster. Not just as a face on a billboard outside Dodger Stadium. But as a pitcher, a real pitcher, in the most competitive baseball league on the planet. For months, the question hung in the air like an 0-2 fastball nobody could read. Could Shohei Ohtani, after Tommy John surgery, after the longest and most agonizing wait of his career, after rebuilding his arm from nothing, could he actually dominate on the mound again? On this day, he didn't just answer that question. He silenced it. 162.5 kilometers per hour. 7 innings. 89 pitches. 8 strikeouts. This wasn't a comeback story anymore. This was a coronation. Today, we break down everything, the performance, the preparation behind it, and what this moment truly means for Ohtani, for the Dodgers, and for the future of baseball itself. Let's start with the numbers, because the numbers tell a story that words almost can't contain. 7 innings pitched. That alone is a statement in modern baseball, where pitch counts are managed like precious currency and starters are pulled the moment a lineup turns over twice. Managers across the league protect their arms obsessively. Going deep into a game is rare. Going deep into a game this cleanly, that's something else entirely. 89 pitches for 7 innings. Do the math. That's efficiency at an elite level. That means Ohtani was not grinding through batters. He was dismissing them. He was working quickly, working confidently, working like a man who has done this 10,000 times in his mind before ever stepping on the mound. And then there were the strikeouts. 8 of them. 8 batters who walked to the plate with a plan, studied film, prepared their approach, and still could do nothing. Some swung early. Some watched strikes they couldn't believe were strikes. Some fouled off pitch after pitch only to be finished off by something they never saw coming. But the number that will echo longest from this performance is 162.5. 162.5 kilometers per hour. That is a season-high fastball. That is not a pitch thrown by someone who is recovering. That is not a pitch thrown by someone who is cautious with his arm. That is a pitch thrown by someone who has arrived. Someone who has not just returned to his previous level, but who may be building towards something even greater. When that pitch registered on the radar gun, something shifted. Not just in the stadium. Not just in the dugout. Something shifted in the conversation around Ohtani as a pitcher in Major League Baseball. He is not returning. He has returned. And now he is climbing. Numbers without context are just numbers. So let's talk about what 162.5 kilometers per hour actually means in the landscape of Major League Baseball pitching today. The league is faster than it has ever been. Pitchers who once threw 95 miles per hour were considered elite. Now, hard-throwing relievers come out of the bullpen touching triple digits regularly. The standard has risen. The arms are stronger. The training is more advanced. And yet, even in this environment, a fastball at that velocity, thrown by a starting pitcher, not a reliever burning everything on 2 innings, commands attention. Starting pitchers are not supposed to throw that hard. The game has been built on the understanding that starters sacrifice velocity for longevity within a game. They pace themselves. They trust movement over pure speed. They survive 7 innings by being smart, not by being overwhelming. Ohtani did both. He threw 162.5, and he did it in the 7th inning. Not the first. Not when his arm was fresh and his adrenaline was spiking off the energy of the crowd. In the 7th inning, after 80-plus pitches, after facing the order multiple times, with his body already deep into the work of the game, he reached back and produced his hardest pitch of the season. That is a physical statement. But more than that, it is a mental one. It tells you that Ohtani was not surviving this start. He was dominating it. He had enough left in the 7th inning to throw harder than he had thrown at any point before it. That kind of finish doesn't happen by accident. That kind of finish is the result of preparation so meticulous, so precise, so deeply ingrained into habit and routine, that the body performs even when the moment demands the most. Those who have watched Ohtani closely for years will not be surprised by this. They have seen the discipline behind the performance. They know that what appears on the field is only the visible portion of something far larger happening beneath the surface. There is a version of this story that begins and ends with the radar gun. 162.5 kilometers per hour. 8 strikeouts. 7 innings. Incredible. Remarkable. Historic. End of segment. But that version of the story misses the point entirely. Because what happened on that mound was not created on that day. It was not summoned from some reservoir of natural talent that Ohtani simply reaches into whenever the moment requires something special. It was built. Piece by piece. Day by day. Through choices so small and so consistent that most people would never notice them, let alone respect them. Ohtani's return to pitching after Tommy John surgery was never a question of ability. It was always a question of process. How does a man who has already reinvented baseball rebuild himself from the inside out without rushing, without cutting corners, without letting the weight of expectation collapse the very thing he is trying to protect? The answer is the same answer it has always been with Ohtani: routine. Those close to him describe a pitcher who approaches his recovery with the same obsessive structure he brings to everything else. Nothing is left to chance. Nothing is improvised. The bullpen sessions were not casual warm-ups, they were laboratories. Each pitch thrown with intention. Each session analyzed and adjusted. The body treated not as something to be pushed through pain, but as something to be understood and developed with patience. His approach to pitching mechanics follows a similar philosophy. He does not simply throw what feels comfortable. He questions why certain pitches work in certain counts. He studies opposing lineups not on the day of the game, but weeks before, building a mental map of tendencies and weaknesses that informs every pitch sequence before the first batter ever steps in. This is why the 7 innings made sense. This is why the 89 pitches made sense. He was not surviving on instinct. He was executing a plan built long before the first pitch of the game. And the 162.5? That was not luck. That was the reward for doing everything right for a very long time. For the Los Angeles Dodgers, this performance changes a calculation. All season, the Dodgers have managed Ohtani's pitching workload with extreme care. They are a team that already has elite arms, proven postseason experience, and a roster built to win championships. Ohtani the batter was already an indispensable piece of that structure, a lineup force who changes how opposing teams build their entire game plan. But Ohtani the pitcher, a fully healthy, fully dominant, season-high velocity Ohtani on the mound, transforms this team into something categorically different. Consider what it means for a postseason opponent to face a Dodgers rotation that includes Ohtani at this level. The preparation required. The scouting demands. The psychological weight of knowing that at some point in a series, you will have to stand in against a pitcher who can throw 162.5 kilometers per hour in the 7th inning and make it look routine. That is not a problem any team in baseball wants to solve. The Dodgers built their roster around the idea that Ohtani could be both a lineup centerpiece and a rotation weapon. For much of this return season, that second part has been developing quietly, carefully, beneath the surface of his daily offensive dominance. Now, on the day he posts a season-high fastball through 7 innings of elite pitching, that idea is no longer theoretical. It is real. It is here. And the rest of the league is watching. The title of today's video calls this moment Ohtani taking the top spot as a pitcher in MLB. Let's sit with that for a moment, because it deserves more than just a headline. The top spot as a pitcher is not simply about velocity rankings or strikeout leaderboards. Those numbers matter, but they are outcomes. The top spot is about respect, the kind of respect that is earned in the specific language of baseball, where players and coaches and scouts watch film and read data and form conclusions based on what they see over long stretches of time. For Ohtani to hold that position, he must be consistent. He must show that the 162.5 was not a one-day miracle but a signal of where his arm now lives. He must show that 7 innings is a standard he can return to, not a peak he reached once and may never touch again. Based on everything we know about how Ohtani works, based on the nutrition, the preparation, the mechanical precision, the mental discipline that has defined his career since he was a teenager deciding what to eat before practice, there is every reason to believe this is not a ceiling. This is a floor. He has climbed here through process. Process does not stop producing results when it reaches a milestone. Process continues, adjusts, improves. The 162.5 of today may not be the 162.5 of next month. The 7 innings of today may become the foundation for an 8-inning masterpiece somewhere down the road. That is the nature of a player who is still learning, still growing, still unsatisfied, even when the radar gun and the box score say he has every right to be satisfied. So where does this leave us? With a performance for the history books. With a fastball that redefined what Ohtani's 2025 pitching season looks like. With 7 innings and 8 strikeouts and 89 pitches that told the entire league, he is here. But the deeper question, the one worth sitting with after the highlights fade and the stats are filed away, is this. What does Ohtani do next? Not on the mound. In the preparation room. In the bullpen sessions nobody films. In the meals chosen with purpose, in the sleep protected like a competitive advantage, in the moments between the visible greatness where the real work of being the best pitcher in baseball is quietly, relentlessly done. Because that is where this performance was truly built. And if history is any guide, if everything we know about how this man operates is any measure of what comes next, then the answer to what Ohtani does next is the same answer it has always been. More. Better. Deeper. The top spot is not a destination for Shohei Ohtani. It is simply where he stopped to rest before climbing higher.